Some bonds in life, they go beyond time, beyond distance, and yes, even beyond death. You know the kind I'm talking about, the bond between a father and son, a mother and daughter, best friends who have shared everything. A mentor who changed the entire direction of your life. They're the kind of people who helped build you, not with bricks, but with belief. They gave you their time, their energy, their wisdom, and in many cases, their sacrifices. And even though they may be gone from this world, they are not gone from you. Why? Because real connection doesn't disappear when someone takes their last breath. No, it echoes in your thoughts, in your habits, in your values, in your voice. You can still hear their advice in quiet moments, still feel their presence when you need it most, still live by the lessons they left behind, and isn't that something? They may be out of sight, but they're still on the journey with you. See, you don't measure a real bond by how long it lasted. You measure it by how deeply it changed you. Some people teach you how to live. Others, even in death, teach you how to keep going, how to stand up again, how to keep your chin up when life brings you to your knees. They're not gone. They've just changed addresses. You carry them with you now. In your work, in your choices, in your kindness to others, because some bonds, they're built in the soul, and the soul doesn't forget. It remembers laughter. It remembers hard times shared. It remembers that final hug, or that final word that meant everything. And so we honor them not by mourning endlessly, but by living the kind of life they would be proud of, by becoming the person they always believed we could be, because that's how you keep a bond alive. You live it, you pass it forward, you let it guide you. So remember, some bonds are too strong for death to break, because love, real love, is not limited to this life. It reaches beyond. And it waits for us just a little farther down the road. True bonds are built on love, time, and shared values, not just physical presence, because presence is temporary, but connection, real connection, that's eternal. You see, anyone can sit beside you, but not everyone can understand your silence. Not everyone knows what you've been through. Not everyone has stood beside you when it cost them something. But the ones who have, that's where the bond begins. It's not just about the hours spent together. It's about what those hours meant, what was exchanged, what was built. Time doesn't create the bond. How you spend it does. And love, not the shallow kind, but the kind that listens, that gives, that sacrifices. That love becomes the glue, and then shared values. That's what takes a relationship from comfort to conviction. When two people believe in the same core things, kindness, honesty, loyalty, courage, when they see the world through a similar lens, they don't just walk beside each other, they move as one. Even in disagreement, there's respect. Even in silence, there's understanding. Even in distance, there's connection. Some of the strongest bonds in the world were built quietly, over years, through storms, through tears, through laughter that echoed in the walls of hardship. And that kind of bond doesn't rely on physical presence. It lives in the choices you make. It shows up in your work ethic. It shows up in your integrity. It shows up in the way you love others, because someone once loved you that way. Some people may not be around anymore, but their influence still speaks, still shapes you, still pushes you forward when life wants to knock you back, because they're part of you now, not just in memory, but in principle, in mindset, in spirit. This is why when someone truly loves you, and stands beside you, and shares their values with you, they don't really leave. Even if they're gone, they live through you. That's how deep bonds work. They go beyond handshakes and conversations. They sink into the soul. They anchor you in moments of doubt. They remind you who you are and where you come from. And you don't need to see them every day to feel them. Because the bond isn't in the room. It's in your heart, in your memory, in your character, that kind of bond. It doesn't fade, it doesn't break, and it sure doesn't disappear with time. It only grows. Grows in the way you live, grows in the way you treat others, grows in the way you carry their love and lessons forward. Death may take someone's body, but it cannot take the impact they left on your life. Because impact doesn't live in the flesh, it lives in the heart, it lives in the mind, it lives in every decision you make that's been shaped by someone who once stood by you. Their voice might be gone, but their words still echo. Their hands may no longer reach for you, but their touch is still felt in your strength. Their laughter may not fill the room, but it still fills your memory. You don't forget someone who left a mark on your soul. You don't move on. You move forward with them embedded in your journey. They gave you something. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was truth. Maybe it was the kind of guidance that only comes from someone who really saw you. And that doesn't disappear. That doesn't fade. Not with time. Not with silence. Not even with death. Because when someone impacts you, they help write your story. They shape your thoughts. They help define your values. They live in the way you carry yourself. You can feel it in how you handle hard days, in how you speak to those you love, in how you persevere when quitting would be easier. That impact, it's alive. It grows, it becomes part of who you are. You might find yourself repeating something they used to say, or doing something they used to do, and it makes you smile even through the tears you realize. They're still with you, not in a physical way, but in a way that counts, a way that lasts, a way that keeps them alive in your world. You see, death is final in the body, but not in the bond, not in the wisdom, not in the influence that stays, that keeps showing up, in the lessons you pass down, in the love you give, in the courage you show. They live in your strength because they helped build it. They live in your heart because they helped fill it. And though grief is real and pain is heavy, you find moments of peace in remembering how much they gave, how deeply they loved, and how permanently they changed you, because someone who gave you that kind of impact didn't just live once. They live every time you rise, every time you keep going, every time you give love the way they taught you. Death may end a life, but it cannot end a legacy. Not a legacy built on truth, love, and influence. That kind of legacy, it's not buried, it's carried, and you're the one carrying it now, not as a burden, but as a blessing, a living tribute to someone who mattered, who still matters, because their impact. That's something even death can't erase. Real connection echoes in your thoughts, habits, and daily actions. It's not always loud. It's not always obvious, but it's always there. It shows up in the quiet moments, when you're making a decision and you hear their voice in your mind. When you're faced with a challenge and you remember how they would have handled it. When you're alone and yet somehow you feel like you're not, because that connection didn't leave when they did. It stayed behind. It became part of you, woven into your mindset, woven into your character. You pick up habits without realizing it. The way you speak, the way you listen, the way you treat people, it's them, still living through you. And when your heart is heavy, that connection becomes a compass. It doesn't solve the problem, but it reminds you, you're not solving it alone. Sometimes it's in the words you choose. Other times, it's in the restraint you show. In the patience you've learned, in the strength you didn't think you had, but somehow you found. You didn't just know them, you absorbed them, their values, their lessons, their love, and that's what real connection does. It doesn't just stay in the past, it flows into your future. It guides your present, even when you don't notice it. It's there, in how you show up for others, in how you speak to yourself, in how you live when no one's watching. It's in the advice you give someone else, because they once gave it to you. It's in the grace you offer others, because they offered it to you. It's in the way you keep going, because they never let you give up. You might catch yourself smiling for no reason, or tearing up without warning. That's connection. That's the soul remembering something the world can't see. It's not about how often you spoke. It's about how deeply they spoke to you. It's not about how much time you had. It's about how much meaning you created with the time you shared. That meaning lives on, and you carry it every single day, sometimes in the big moments, when you're taking a leap and wishing they could see it, and other times in the smallest habits, folding the towel the way they did, brewing coffee the way they liked. That's connection, that's legacy, and you're living it, you're becoming it, not because you're trying, but because it's become part of who you are. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. It's already inside you. That's the beauty of a real bond. It doesn't end when the conversation stops. It doesn't vanish when life moves on. It lingers, it echoes, and it shapes every step you take forward. The people you've lost still guide you through their wisdom and memory. Even when they're no longer here in the flesh, their voice hasn't vanished. It lives in the back of your mind. It shows up when you're unsure. It whispers when you need direction. Sometimes it's a sentence they used to say. Sometimes it's just a look you remember. Sometimes it's a feeling that settles in your chest, telling you exactly what they would have wanted for you. And in those moments you realize they're still helping you, still teaching you, still pushing you to be strong, even in the silence. They taught you through their actions, through the way they loved, through the way they lived. And now, you carry that with you. You carry their standards. You carry their lessons. You carry the memories that shaped the person you are becoming. When life gets heavy, you remember their resilience. You think about how they handled hardship, and you find strength in that, because if they made it through, maybe you can too. They may not be beside you in the way they once were, but they're never far. Not really. They show up in your courage, in your choices, in your moments of doubt, reminding you of what they believed about you, what they saw in you. And isn't that something, to still feel their hand on your shoulder, even when the world says they're gone? To still hear their laughter in your memory, reminding you that joy doesn't have to die. They guide you through their wisdom. Maybe they were never loud, but you remember their patience. Maybe they never gave speeches, but their life was the lesson. And now you find yourself repeating it, living it, passing it on, because legacy doesn't live in photographs. It lives in the choices we make. It lives in the words we speak. It lives in the way we continue what they started. You make a decision and you hear them. You face a moment of fear and you remember what they once told you about courage. You feel alone and somehow you're comforted, because they're still with you in ways that truly matter. They gave you their best, their time, their truth, their love, and those things don't leave when a person does. You may cry, you may ache, you may wish for just one more day, but you also carry them forward. In your victories, in your growth, in your resilience, because their wisdom didn't die, their love didn't vanish, and their memory didn't fade. It grew roots inside of you, deep and strong, and now, even though they're gone from the world, they continue shaping it, through you. Through every life you touch, through every choice you make that honors what they stood for. They are not just part of your past, they are part of your path, guiding you with every step. You carry those bonds with you in everything you do. They're part of your story now, part of your rhythm, part of your reason. You might not talk about it every day, but it's there, in the way you greet people, in the way you hold back anger and choose compassion, in the way you show up even when it's hard. That bond doesn't live in a photo frame or a distant memory. It lives in your habits, in your values, in your presence. You don't leave it at home when you go to work. You don't pack it away when the day gets busy. It follows you, it guides you. Sometimes it shows up when you least expect it, in a small gesture, in a sudden thought, in a word you speak without thinking, but realize later it came from them. And you smile, because even though they're not here, somehow, they still are. You might be chasing a dream, but part of the reason you chase it is because they once told you you could. You might be helping someone else because they once helped you. You give because they gave, you love because they loved, and that's how the bond lives on, not in the past, but in the present, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you carry others. You've taken pieces of them and built them into your foundation. Maybe it was their strength, Maybe it was their kindness. Maybe it was their faith in you, even when you had none in yourself. And now you carry that like a torch, a quiet fire that keeps burning even when the night gets cold. You think of them when you face a hard choice. You imagine what they'd say, how they'd encourage you, and even if no one else knows it, they're helping you through. You walk through life with them inside you. Not like a shadow, but like a light, and you don't always have to talk about it. You just have to live it. That bond influences your character, your grit, your gratitude. It reminds you to slow down, to pay attention, to care, even your ambition. Yes, even that can be rooted in that bond, because maybe you want to make them proud, or maybe you want to finish what they started, or maybe you just want to live in a way that reflects all they meant to you. And that's powerful, to live your life in honor of someone who helped shape it, to build something with their fingerprints still etched on your heart. You carry them when you win, you carry them when you fall. And even when the world doesn't see it you know, they're still with you in every step, in every smile, in every quiet victory. That bond didn't end. It just changed form, and now it walks with you. In everything you do, a deep bond doesn't fade with time. It grows stronger as you grow, because real connection doesn't weaken with distance. It doesn't disappear just because the world keeps moving. It lives. It breathes. It becomes part of who you are. You may think time will make it fade, that the memories will soften, that the love will loosen its grip. But something amazing happens instead. You grow, and that bond grows with you. You carry it into every new version of yourself, into every new chapter, into every rise and fall, and it doesn't feel smaller. It feels deeper, because with each year you understand more. You see things they tried to teach you. You appreciate things they once said, things that didn't make sense until now. Time has a way of unfolding those hidden truths, and suddenly their wisdom feels even more relevant, their love even more powerful. Their presence, even in absence, feels closer than ever. That bond is like a seed they planted in your heart, and with every step forward it grows, it branches out, it bears fruit, not just in memory, but in action. In how you treat people, in how you carry yourself, in how you respond to life. They may not be growing with you physically, but they're still part of your evolution, still part of your strength, still part of your why. You start to see them in everything, in the lessons you live by, in the love you give away, in the moments when you rise above what once held you down, and in those moments you realize they never really left. That bond you shared is still alive, and it's getting stronger, not because of time passing, but because of who you're becoming. You're not just remembering them, you're honoring them by growing, by healing, by choosing to live in a way that reflects all they meant to you. You take them with you, to new places, into new dreams, through new struggles, and every time you think you're walking alone, you remember how much of them lives inside you now. Their courage becomes your courage. Their compassion becomes your kindness. Their wisdom becomes your compass. The bond keeps building, not in noise, but in quiet strength, in steady presence, in silent encouragement. And yes, you may cry. Yes, you may miss them more with time, but that's only because the bond hasn't weakened. It's grown deeper, more layered, more meaningful, because love like that doesn't expire. It evolves. It expands. It reaches into places you never expected. And one day, you'll look in the mirror and see pieces of them reflected back. Not in appearance, but in character, in resilience, in purpose. That's the power of a deep bond. It doesn't just survive time, it thrives in it, and as you grow, so does everything they gave you. Honoring someone means living a life they would be proud of. It's not just about remembering them, it's about reflecting them. In the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak to others, in the way you show up when it's hard, it means turning their love into your strength, turning their values into your compass, turning their lessons into your legacy. You don't honor someone by standing still in grief. You honor them by moving forward with purpose, by chasing your goals, by being kind even when the world isn't, by giving your best, not because life is easy, but because they believed you could. They poured something into you, time, wisdom, sacrifice, faith, and now it's your turn to do something with it. They may not be watching from the room anymore, but you still feel them watching over you. You still hear their voice when you need guidance. You still picture their smile when you get it right. So live in a way that makes that voice proud. Live in a way that makes that smile feel earned. Honor isn't about perfection. It's not about never falling. It's about getting back up. It's about choosing to walk in light when darkness calls your name. It's choosing integrity when no one's looking. Choosing courage when fear shows up. Choosing growth even when staying the same would be easier. You don't honor their memory by shrinking yourself. You honor it by rising, by doing the hard things, by becoming the kind of person they always saw in you. And that takes time, it takes patience, but more than anything it takes heart, because deep down you know what they stood for. You know what mattered to them. You know how they lived, and even more than that, you know what they wanted for you. They wanted you to live, to grow, to give, to love, to thrive. So that's how you honor them. Not by clinging to the pain, but by walking through it and coming out stronger. Not by holding on to the past, but by carrying it with grace into your future. Let your life be the continuation of their story. Let your choices reflect their influence. Let your words carry their truth. There's no statue that will ever mean more than the life you live in their name. No monument greater than your character. No tribute more powerful than your perseverance. When people see you, they should see traces of them, not because you're trying to be them, but because they helped shape who you are. Honor is lived. It's breathed. It's shown in the way you treat people, the way you give without asking, the way you keep your word. You honor someone by taking what they gave you and using it, not hiding it, not wasting it, but building on it. Let your life be the proof that their love mattered. Let your growth be the evidence that they were here. Let your legacy carry forward the light they left behind. Some people continue teaching us, even in their absence. Even after they're gone, their lessons still speak. Their influence doesn't vanish. It lingers, it deepens. It shows up when we least expect it, and exactly when we need it most. They're no longer in the room, but their voice is still in your mind. Their wisdom still walks with you. Their words still shape your choices. Because the most powerful lessons aren't always spoken once. They're lived. And when someone leaves their values, when they show you what integrity looks like, what love feels like, what strength truly is, that kind of teaching never dies. You remember how they handled pressure. You remember how they treated people when they had nothing to gain. You remember how they stood tall when life tried to bring them to their knees. And now, in your own life, you find yourself following that same example. You think, what would they do? You feel guided, even without hearing a single word. They've become part of your conscience, part of your reasoning, part of your response to life. You may not have said good, by the way you wanted. You may not have had all the time you hoped for, but they gave you something more valuable than time. They gave you direction. Their life became a lesson, a blueprint, a quiet voice that rises when the noise of the world gets too loud. And maybe, now that they're gone, you understand their lessons even more. You see what they meant. You see why they did things a certain way, and you grow because of it. They are no longer teaching you with words. They're teaching you through memory, through example, through presence that doesn't depend on sight. And there's something sacred about that, something pure, because now you carry their truth with you. You live it. You pass it on. You let it guide your heart, your actions, your decisions. You may hear their voice in a quiet room. Feel their strength when yours is low. Recall their advice when you're standing at a crossroads. That's how powerful their teaching was. It reached past their life. It stretched into yours. And now, it keeps growing through every choice you make. You don't need a classroom to be a student, and you don't need presents to keep learning. Sometimes, the greatest teachers leave their legacy behind in the way they lived, and that legacy becomes your foundation. Your reminder, your compass. They taught you then, and somehow they're still teaching you now. You are becoming better because of them, stronger because of them, more grounded because they showed you what really matters. You may miss their hugs, you may miss their voice, but you'll never lose the truth they gave you, because some people don't stop teaching when they're gone. They simply start teaching from a deeper place. A quieter place, a place that lives within you. Love that is rooted in the soul survives beyond this world. It's not limited by time, it's not confined by space. It doesn't end when a heartbeat does, because soul-rooted love is eternal. It's not built on surface things, it's not dependent on daily contact or constant presence. It's built on something deeper, something spiritual, something timeless. You feel it long after they're gone. You carry it like breath, silent, invisible, but always there. You might not hear their voice anymore. You might not hold their hand, but you feel them in your heart, in your spirit, in the quiet corners of your life. That kind of love doesn't ask for permission to stay. It just does. It weaves itself into who you are, into how you see the world, into how you give your own love away. There's a reason you still cry when you remember them. There's a reason you still smile at their favorite song. That's not memory alone. That's soul connection. Because real love doesn't die. It transforms. It moves from the physical to the emotional, to the spiritual. And then it lives there, without boundaries, without limits. It whispers when you need peace. It warms you when the world feels cold. It stands beside you when you feel alone. Some people come into your life and leave an impression. Others leave an imprint on your soul, and that imprint becomes part of your foundation. You may move forward, but you never move without them. They walk with you. In every step, in every breath, in every decision made with love. You see their light in the darkest places. You hear their laughter in the silence. You carry their love in your victories, and you feel their presence in your healing. Soul-rooted love is never gone. It's just unseen. It shows up when you're hurting. It rises when you're afraid. It shines when you need hope. You look up or look within and you know they are still with you, not because of wishful thinking, but because the love you shared went deeper than the surface. It was written in your spirit, etched into the deepest part of who you are, and nothing, not even death, can take that away. You still love them. And in some way, they still love you, because when love is real, when it's built on truth and sacrifice and trust, it doesn't break, it bends, it evolves, but it never disappears. So don't question the tears that still fall. Don't silence the laughter that still comes when you think of them. Don't be afraid to talk to them when no one else is around. That's love still breathing. That's connection still alive, because the soul remembers what the body forgets. And love, when it's planted deep in the soul, isn't bound by this world. It reaches beyond. It waits beyond, and it holds you, even from the other side. Keeping that bond alive means living it, sharing it, and letting it shape who you become. It means the connection doesn't end with goodbye. It means you carry them forward, not just in memory, but in action. Every choice you make, every kind word you offer, every moment of grace you extend, it becomes a reflection of the love you still hold. Because that bond isn't just a feeling, it's a responsibility, it's a legacy, it's a light that you keep lit even when the world feels dark. You live the bond when you hold on to the lessons they taught you, when you speak with the wisdom they left behind, when you face challenges with the strength they once showed you. You share the bond when you give to others the way they gave to you, when you pass along the same compassion, the same patience, the same fire, and you let it shape who you become when you stop trying to be who you were before they left and instead You start becoming who you're meant to be because they loved you. Because they believed in you. It's not about staying the same. It's about growing with the memory, not away from it. It's about letting their influence become a part of your identity. You keep the bond alive by making their presence known in your courage. In your work, in your truth. You may not speak their name every day, but their voice echoes in the way you show up, in the way you lead, in the way you care. You honor them by becoming someone they would be proud of. Someone they saw in you before you could see it yourself, because the bond didn't die, it changed. It moved from physical presence to spiritual guidance, and now it lives through you. It lives through your words, your actions, your purpose. When you stumble, it steadies you. When you forget, it reminds you. When you doubt, it lifts you. It's in the strength you didn't know you had, in the resilience you draw from when everything feels like too much, in the quiet voice that tells you, keep going. And every time you make the hard, right choice, every time you love with your whole heart, every time you give your best, you're keeping the bond alive. You're not just remembering them, you're becoming a living extension of their love. That's the power of a bond that never breaks. It shapes your present, it defines your future, and it never stops teaching you who you're capable of becoming. So don't let it fade. Don't let it sit still. Let it move with you. Let it grow with you. Let it transform you. Because keeping that bond alive isn't about holding on to what was. It's about building something new from what you were given. It's about letting love become action, letting memory become movement, letting loss become meaning. That's how bonds survive. Not by staying frozen in time, but by being lived, by being shared, and by being allowed to shape the very core of who you are becoming. So when you walk forward from this moment, walk with purpose. Walk with the bond still alive in your heart. Let it remind you of who you are. Let it push you toward who you're meant to be, because some connections don't fade. They become part of your foundation, part of your strength, part of your story, and by living that story fully with love, with honor, with truth, you keep their presence alive. You keep their spirit moving through you, and that is how you turn loss into legacy. That is how you make sure they are never truly gone.